In this video, we're going to talk about an important question: how to choose the right woman for a relationship. How can you tell if a relationship has real potential? How can you evaluate that from the very beginning? These early assessments matter because they can help you avoid future disappointment or heartache. So let's go through several key points, not in any particular order of importance, just different areas worth paying attention to. First, her family background. Is she from a complete family? Does she have both a mother and a father? If her father wasn't present while she was growing up, this may have affected her perception of relationships. Without a strong male role model, the mother often has to take on both parental roles, making decisions and carrying full responsibility. As a result, the daughter may grow up trying to dominate in her own relationships, which can seriously hinder healthy dynamics. Also, take note of the family atmosphere she was raised in. Were there frequent arguments, misunderstandings, or constant tension at home? If so, it's worth investigating further. Why was that the case? Women raised in a high-conflict environment may unconsciously seek out or recreate that same dynamic. They might even provoke arguments themselves without realizing it. Another thing to consider is whether her father had a strong, leading presence in the family. A lack of that can also affect her expectations and behavior in relationships. It's also helpful to observe her relationships with other relatives. If she often clashes with family over her relationships, that's another red flag. Pay special attention to her mother. Very often, daughters reflect their mothers in more ways than you'd think, sometimes almost identically. Second, her profession. Let's skip the extreme examples like working in a nightclub. That's pretty obvious. What you really want to be cautious about are professions where a woman is in constant contact with men. Receptionists, fitness trainers, bar staff, flight attendants, and so on. Here's why it matters. If a woman works, for example, at a reception desk or in a gym, she's interacting with dozens of men every day. And yes, at first, her partner may feel secure and think, she loves me, there's nothing to worry about. But over time, months, a year, maybe two, a crisis can hit the relationship. And just like that, a man who catches her attention may show interest, and it can create real problems. This type of environment is risky, and it's something to be mindful of. Another crucial point, her goals. If a woman is focused on self-actualization, finding herself, or building a career, it's best to move on from that story. It rarely ends well. A lot of men fall for women who are interesting or driven, but relationships need more than just good conversation. That kind of personal pursuit isn't a solid foundation for building a healthy long-term relationship. Third, her relationship history. You'd be surprised how many men never ask about a woman's past relationships, either because they're uncomfortable or they just don't want to know. But this is incredibly valuable information. It tells you a lot. How many relationships has she had? What roles did she play? When was she more passive, more dominant? How did those relationships unfold and end? Was she the one who initiated breakups often? That's a warning sign. It could indicate a pattern where she seeks control and wears down her partner emotionally. There are women who, in the beginning, overwhelm a man with affection and attention. They give him emotional support and make him feel like he's everything. But if the man doesn't take the lead or maintain a strong position, he slowly starts to relax. And eventually she hits him with a metaphorical gut punch. Suddenly, his importance drops drastically. At that point, the man's value in her eyes often drops sharply, seemingly out of nowhere. We'll cover this particular type of woman in more detail in a separate video. But the key takeaway here is that a woman's past relationships are incredibly important. You need to be aware of them. Also, don't assume that your relationship with her will be completely unique or different from her past. Human brains are wired to repeat familiar behavior. When we find ourselves in situations that require decisions or reactions, our minds tend to follow the same patterns we've used before. So if you know how she behaved in previous relationships, how she acted during conflicts, how much effort she put in, That's exactly how she's likely to act with you too. The only thing that might make a difference is how much she values you compared to her previous partner. If she held her ex in very high regard but sees you as less important, you can expect an even worse relationship. If the reverse is true, if she wasn't that invested in her ex but sees you as someone special, you may experience better dynamics. But at the core, she's still the same person. Now here's another critical point. If you find out she has cheated in the past, whether it happened when she was 18, 25, or 30, the explanation doesn't really matter. Whether she says she was drunk, emotionally disconnected, or basically broken up, the fact remains, if she did it once, it will be easier for her to do it again. Also, if casual or non-committed relationships were normal for her, even if she claimed they were just for fun, that's a major red flag. It's best to walk away from those situations. Next up, her social circle. Look at her close friends. They're not in her life by accident. Sometimes you'll hear men say, she's great, but her friends are a bad influence. But here's the truth. If she chooses to spend time with them, they likely share much more in common than you think. Also check if she has male friends. As mentioned earlier, male friends are often just potential romantic options being kept in the background. That can and often does lead to future issues. Now, once your connection with her has moved past the first few dates, let's say around 5 to 10 meetings, observe whether she adopts your values, your worldview, or at least respects your opinions. Or does she hold on to her own beliefs as the only correct ones? If it's the latter, that's a clear sign of what life will be like long term. Disagreements will only grow. If you're already having trouble understanding each other early on, it's likely to get worse over time. The longer you're together, the more areas of life you'll have to align on. And without shared values, the friction only intensifies. Another key area to assess is her ability to invest emotionally in the relationship. Listen carefully to what she says. Does she constantly talk about what a man should do or how her exes treated her? That can reveal whether she's capable of giving, compromising, and truly participating in a healthy relationship. Again, her past relationships offer strong clues here. Now let's go over two more crucial points. First, does she show signs of being manipulative? For example, does she try to make you jealous or play hard to get? If she's pulling these moves at the beginning, it's a serious warning. Don't fall for the "it's just a test" excuse you might hear in dating advice circles. If you're looking to build something meaningful, there's no place for mind games like these. Second, her values and beliefs. Pay close attention to how she sees her future. What does she consider right or wrong? What are her moral standards? Don't take her words at face value. Actions speak louder. If she says she values family above all, but her behavior contradicts that, trust what she does, not what she says. For example, if a woman says she loves flowers but constantly forgets to water them, do we really believe she cares for them? Similarly, if she claims she wants both self-realization, travel, and a strong family. In practice, one of those goals will likely get pushed aside. Usually it's the family. That's why it's essential to wait for the first real conflict. Observe how she handles it. Does she escalate the issue, stir things up, and move toward destruction? Or does she try to resolve it quickly or even prevent it from growing into a real problem? Or will she choose to reconcile quickly or even prevent the conflict from escalating in the first place? I've made this comparison before, and it's worth repeating. The early stages of a relationship, whether it's 1 month, 6 months, or even a year, are like driving on a smooth paved road. But real life will eventually throw obstacles your way. If you're already hitting bumps early on, trust me, the future will be much rougher, more like driving off-road. And things won't magically improve later. They usually get more difficult. Now here's an interesting point. If a woman is heavily into magic, esotericism, energy rituals, or things like reality transurfing, it's best to move on immediately. These kinds of beliefs often create major issues. And I speak from experience. During consultations, we've seen situations where it's both comical and sad. She can create imaginary problems, get offended by things that never happened, or believe in something irrational, and you won't be able to convince her otherwise. It's simply not worth the trouble. Another thing I highly recommend, check out her Instagram and other social media. Pay attention to how she presents herself online. What might raise red flags? First, ask yourself, does she seem overly dependent on male attention? Social media, especially Instagram, is a tool people use to get validation. If she's obsessed with it, constantly posting and engaging, that's a major signal. It's usually best to steer clear. Also, notice the type of persona she portrays. Some women go for the boss babe or career-driven image. Others flaunt a luxurious lifestyle, and some focus on showing off their bodies with revealing photos. Remember, her social media reflects how she wants to be seen and often reveals what she values most. If you see extreme behavior in how she curates her image, it's better not to get involved. There are many such indicators you can pick up on, and we'll definitely do a full webinar on this topic in the future. Ideally, a live session where I can answer your questions and we can discuss things in depth. It might take a couple of hours, but it'll be worth it. One last important recommendation. Observe what she's like in everyday life, her habits at home. Is she domestic? Does she keep things clean and cook? In 95% of cases, if a woman doesn't take care of the household, doesn't cook, doesn't clean, she's also unlikely to invest emotionally in the relationship. Instead, she'll expect to receive, not give. And it's crucial to understand the difference between doing chores once in a while and actually having the habit of contributing consistently. A one-time gesture is not the same as a way of living. Strangely, many men never stop to think about this. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever met a woman who fits this description? Does this type seem familiar to you? I'd love to hear your stories. Until next time, friends.